You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
IT pros, are you ready for Cybersecurity Awareness Month in October? If the thought of creating assets and content has you sweating on your keyboard, KnowBe4 has a surprise for you. They've just released a comprehensive new 2024 resource kit featuring their own award-winning streaming quality show, The Inside Man. It's packed with everything you need to make cybersecurity awareness exciting and effective. Stay tuned to learn how this kit can transform your awareness campaign and turn your employees into cyber defenders. Hello, everyone, and welcome to N2K CyberWire's Hacking Humans podcast, where each week we look behind the social engineering scams, phishing schemes, and criminal exploits that are making headlines and taking a heavy toll on organizations around the world. I'm Dave Bittner, and joining me is Joe Kerrigan. Hey, Joe.
Hi, Dave.
And my N2K colleague and host of the T- Space Daily podcast, Maria Varmazis. Maria.
Hey, Dave.
We've got some good stories to share this week. We'll be right back after this message from our show's sponsor. All right, so we don't have any follow-up this week, so I'm going to jump right into our stories here. And I have what I would consider to be some good news.
Ah, very good.
Good news, everyone.
I know, good news. This follows up on what I was ranting about last show about remember the watch face story where I wanted to... Yeah,
you commented on.
They were
I'm
listening.
sure that's easy to cancel.
They were waiting on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So turns out the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, has adopted a final rule that requires businesses to offer simple click-to-cancel subscription options. So
thanks, Dave.
You're very welcome. So what this comes, I made a few calls.
Right. You called your buddies over at the FTC.
Yeah.
Pulled some strings.
That's right. They said, "Is this the Dave Bittner from the Cyberwire?" I said, "Yes, it is." They said, "How can we help you?"
Watch face. What?
What this comes down to is they've made this more proportional, I guess would be a good way to say it. So if you subscribe to something online, you must be able to cancel it online.
Woohoo!
And this, right? Because I think it was the New York Times who was notorious for, if you had a subscription, the only way to cancel it was a phone call.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wall Street Journal's like that too.
Okay, right. So,
yes.
And then you wait on the phone for an hour, and then you had to talk to someone whose job it was, who was highly skilled at getting you to try to change your mind.
Yeah.
When it came to this. So this makes that a little easier. But then also in-person signups, like if you sign up for something, let's say you're buying a new phone and the provider gets you to sign up for something, you must be able to cancel that by phone or online as well. So basically, they're just saying, enough of this stuff, knock it off. You got to make it easier for folks to be able to cancel subscriptions. Other things that are in this, businesses have to disclose subscription terms, including costs and how to cancel. There can't be any hidden fees or what they call sneaky auto enrollments. And businesses have to obtain and keep proof of consumer consent for charges. So I think this is all good stuff. The rule goes into effect in between 60 and 180 days. There are penalties for folks who violate this.
Caning?
Right. Corporal punishment, if only.
That's
specifically caning. Wow.
By the way, Dave, that's my new go-to for things that really anger me is I want to see people publicly caned
Publicly
now.
humiliated.
Was that Sumter? Who was that?
Injured.
I don't know.
Let's get out Old Hickory and right.
Goodness.
Yeah. Didn't that happen on the floor of the Senate one time? Someone beat someone else.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, there was a fight. There was a fight that broke out where somebody was swinging a cane.
Okay, they beat somebody within an inch of their lives or something on the world's most deliberative body, right?
Yeah. Andrew Jackson was also notorious for beating. Was it Andrew Jackson or Alexander Hamilton? I think it was Andrew Jackson.
I think it was Jackson.
He
Yeah.
would, somebody said his wife something about his wife, and he hopped off his horse and literally beat the guy with his stick.
Okay.
That feels like a thing Andrew Jackson would have done.
Yeah.
Yeah. that
Jackson
tracks. Yeah. Hamilton
My
had
spirit
a
animal.
different track record with duels.
Right? Yeah, he did.
All right.
That's right. Writing
So-
checks his
Anyway.
pistol can't cash.
Yeah. It's interesting that this rule adoption, and I suppose on one level not surprising, came down to a party line vote. So it was 3-2 of the what do you call it? The administrators, the people who vote on things at the FTC.
Right.
The committee.
Yeah, there's always 5 of them.
Yeah, it's escaping me, but it was a 3-2 vote down party lines. And the folks who voted against it said that it is a political ploy, that the Biden administration is only trying to curry favor a couple weeks out from the election, and that this won't hold up to legal challenges. So we'll see. It's not, done. Well, this is why we can't have nice things. Right?
So say, what is it, the gym lobby coming in against this one? Because
Right.
they make
Yeah.
it notoriously
Who's-
hard to cancel anything.
Who's against this?
Right.
Gyms.
Who is against this?
Right. What? Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's sort of how the sausage was made here. But
Yeah.
I consider this to be good news. I hope it stands. They're saying that in the event that Kamala Harris were to become president, this would probably stand. In the event that Donald Trump were to become president, it probably would not. Again, no surprises there. But this is the kind of thing that seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, this is one of those things that should be everybody is on the same side.
This should be
Right.
bipartisan. I don't understand
Right.
how it's not.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah. Jesus. Well, do you know what the workaround is either way for this? Not as a business, but as a person trying to cancel, is just say that you've moved to California or that your new address is in California.
Oh,
And
right.
often, magically, an easy cancel button will appear. I've done this many times for things that insist that I have to call. I first go to my profile, edit that I live in California. I just do 90210 because I'm a 90s kid.
Sure.
Right.
Type it in as my zip code.
Like
then
you could
usually-
ever afford to live in
magically-
90210. Any
It's
of
just
us, really.
And then magically a cancel button will often appear. I've seriously used this. It's so
Isn't it
aggravating that you have to jump through that hoop.
Back in the day, back in the days of classic Twitter, it was
I miss
common knowledge that if you wanted to get the Nazis off of your Twitter feed, just tell Twitter that you were in Germany.
Right.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
So
worked.
Probably doesn't work anymore, but I
It
digress.
definitely does not.
All right. Well, we will have a link to this story if you're interested in some of the details here and the behind the scenes things and when this is actually going to roll into effect. Do check it out. But I have to say, I think this is good news, and I hope it sticks because it's just so frustrating to have to deal with this stuff, and it just seems like it's a big waste of time and the human spirit.
Indeed.
So, all right,
Amen.
that's my story this week. Joe, you're up next. What do you got for us?
Dave, my story comes from the BBC. That's the Brits, Dave.
The Beebs, yeah.
The Beebs. This story comes from Elaine Chong and Ed Main. And the headline of the story is, "Your Son Will Die. How Blessing Scammers Prowl the Streets."
Oh.
Now, this is a scam that targets people of Chinese descent, or at least the victims in this are Chinese, as far as I can tell. And it starts off with a victim whose name is Meng Ni, who is a Chinese-Malaysian Londoner in her 60s. She was approached in West London while on her way to yoga by a woman who was crying. Now, this woman spoke Cantonese, as Meng Ni also spoke, and she asked if there was a traditional Chinese healer in the area. Her husband is sick, right? So immediately, Meng Ni is like, "Oh, I don't know. Is there?" And quickly, very quickly, a second Cantonese-speaking stranger appeared, claiming she knew where there was a healer
Okay.
and offering to take them to the healer guy. And Meng Ni was swept along with these two women. spoiler alert, I'm sure everybody knows this. These two women are, in fact, part of the scam.
They're in cahoots.
Yeah.
They're in cahoots.
Cahoots.
On a quieter side street, though, a third woman joins the group, right? Claiming to be related to the healer and went to see if he could help. So now Meng Ni is outnumbered 3-1, which is an interesting dynamic, I think.
Okay.
In this thing. First off, are you in real physical danger? Maybe. I don't know.
Well, what's prompting her to follow them along? Just social pressure?
Social pressure. They all speak Cantonese.
Right.
So they're all presumably from the same area or have come from the same area. They all have this cultural bond.
Sure.
Right. And these people are building rapport instantaneously by one of them doing the foremost useful words in social engineering. Can you help me?
Yeah.
And another one has come along with the solution saying, yes, I can help. Why don't we go find this healer guy? And the third person says, hey, I know the healer. I'll go see if he's available. Well, guess what? He is available. When she returned from speaking to the healer for 15 minutes, she had troubling news. Through his mystical powers, he had apparently discovered that Meng Ni was also in danger. And then he says that your son is going to have a car accident in the next 3 days or he's going to die. So the woman told Meng Ni that the healer could bestow a blessing that would protect the son. And the ladies told her, you need to go home. You need to get a bag full of rice, a handful of rice, and put as much gold and cash in a bag as you can with the rice. And then we would say blessings over all these valuables, right?
Mm-hmm.
So feels as if she's gotten out here to keep her son alive. She goes home, puts all of her jewelry into this bag, withdraws 4,000 pounds from her savings account and puts that in a plastic bag and puts it in the bag as well. And then they do the blessing over top of the bag. And when Meng Ni gets home, she's shocked to look inside the bag and find only a brick, a piece of cake, and 2 bottles of water. So they swapped the bags out.
Wow.
Right? They did a sleight of hand trick to swap the bags out. And that's when she realized she'd been conned.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of these items, these jewelry items, have been in her family for years. They were passed down from her mother. It is awful. There is another woman whose mother was victimized by the same kind of scam. Her name is, and I'm going to butcher this, Tuyet Van Huynh. I'm just going to call her Tuyet because that's the word I have the most confidence in pronouncing.
Okay, sure.
And I hate when I can't say people's names properly. It really bugs me. But she's out there trying to raise awareness because her mother was also approached by the same 3 people who did the same thing. And they actually got closed circuit TV footage of this going on with Tiet's mom. So it's a scam that's out there. So Tiet has a theory that there's possibly a drug involved they call devil's breath or scopolamine, which is actually a motion sickness drug. But if you give it to someone in the right dose, reportedly can make somebody suggestible. However, I'm going to go ahead and say another thing that can make someone else suggestible is just the situation, right?
Yeah.
When you are in this situation, if you are someone who believes in this, now here the real kicker here is that Tiet's mom is not someone who believes in this kind of stuff.
Okay.
She's not superstitious. She's not spiritual. She doesn't not religious in any way. So that's why Tiet thinks maybe they used this drug on her because she wouldn't have fallen for this. But a lot of people who have these religious beliefs, whenever someone approaches me, I've said this a number of times, whenever someone tries to approach me and tries to appeal to my religious sensibility, immediately I am skeptical of that person.
Yes.
Immediately.
Yep.
And that has always been the case with me. And I don't know why.
Well, Joe, it's because you're such a kind, godly man.
Right.
Can I compliment you on your godliness? I just want to tell you, Joe, how impressed I am with what a loyal, godly man you are.
So you're starting to irritate me with that. You're like,
say godly one more time, Dave.
Got your
more
hackles
time.
up? Right. That's when Joe reaches across the desk and collars me.
Yeah, right. So I don't know the drug's been involved because what happens once you hear that a family member of yours is going to die within 3 days, is now you are in that fight or flight response. Your higher order thinking has been short-circuited, maybe even shut down. And you're like, what do I have to do to get this to go away?
Yeah.
This is like how a lot of these scams work. So I'm not 100% convinced scopolamine is involved here, but maybe. Maybe.
Something that strikes me about this is how many of these confidence scams involve a second person magically showing up to reinforce what the first person is saying.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important lesson here. When we hear about, I'm trying to think of some of the, we used, there was one in a movie that we used. It was an old black and white movie. I'm trying to remember what it was. We talked about in Hacking Humans Goes to the Movies, but it's kind of like, it was the found envelope thing. I found a wallet, that sort of thing. And so I found somebody finds a wallet and, oh, will you help me? And then another person shows up and says, oh, you found a wallet. Well, here's what we should do. So it's just like that pattern, I think, is something to file away, that if you have an interaction with someone, even if it doesn't seem odd, and a second person shows up and starts reinforcing what the first person was saying, that's a big red flag, I think.
Right.
Because so many of these scams rely on that. Like, that's how they chip away at your resistance.
Yep. It 100%. Couldn't agree more. Now, again, I like to say this is one of the things that wouldn't work on me.
Yeah.
First off, of course it's not going to work on me because I'm not culturally, this is not something that I have culturally had experience with or have a belief system around. Right. So, but if I could think of something analogous to this, even though, I am a regular churchgoer, but when somebody comes up to me and starts talking to me about something, I'm immediately suspicious.
Right. But suppose someone came up to you and was able to convince you that somehow one of your children were in some kind of peril.
Yeah.
That it would get your attention.
It would get my attention.
Yeah.
It would get my undivided attention. You're 100% correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you were living in a country where you were a cultural and language minority, and someone else was speaking American English to you, and maybe was, from your area, so had a lot of the social tells that made you feel comfortable and at home.
Yeah,
whereas you're surrounded by people who are different. Yeah,
that's an excellent point, Maria. That that these are like almost immediate comrades, right? Immediate allies, if you will.
Right.
I don't mean to say comrade.
Yeah, you feel comforted because they speak the same language, and it's sort of like you against the world feeling when you're in a country where you're surrounded by people who don't speak the same first language as you. So, why would these people be trying to scam you? Like, you're all in the trenches together, right? And yet,
here they are.
It reminds me when I went to college, and I went to the state college in the state that I went to high school with and grew up in. So, the close by college.
You're not fooling everybody. Everybody knows where you went.
No, I went to the University of Maryland, and
what? No kidding.
But the funny thing about that I remember is that, like, folks from my high school who were also at Maryland, if I would run across them on campus, even if they were someone that I had nothing to do with in high school, it'd be like, oh my God, it's you,
Right.
Oh, you're like, there was this extra bit of connection just because we came across each other in a place that wasn't the normal place where we came across each other. And we had a shared background.
I actually had Palance was his first name. He introduced himself to me because he was a year behind me and recognized me and said, "You went to Paint Branch, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah." And I didn't recognize him, but when I was in college with him, I knew who he was, and he would just yell Paint Branch across the hall, across the quad to me.
There you go. Yeah. All right, well, we will have a link to this story in the show notes. Before we get to our next story, let's take a quick break to hear a message from our sponsor. We're back with more from our sponsor, KnowBe4. Remember that Cybersecurity Awareness Month resource kit we mentioned? Let's dive in. This comprehensive kit is a goldmine of free resources designed to captivate and educate your users. The star of the show, your users will join characters from The Inside Man across a whole season of story-based, plot-driven content, plus an interactive game where users become cyber analysts hunting down a malicious insider threat. But there's more. You get access to a resource user guide packed with ideas and messaging, a weekly planner to help you roll out your campaign effortlessly, plus enough supporting training modules and assets to fill a whole month. Cover critical topics including AI and deepfakes, mobile device security and incident response, all with the free kit. This isn't just any training material. It's an immersive experience with engaging storytelling that your employees will actually remember. Say goodbye to outdated training and hello to content your employees will actually remember and want to watch. Get your free kit at knowbefore.com/cybersecurity-kit. All right, we are back. And Maria, it is your turn. What do you have for us this week?
Well, I have an update on a scam from our friends at ESET, the research team at ESET. They've been keeping an eye on a Telegraph-based tool that they're calling Telekopye. And Telegraph is the quasi-secure messaging app that's gotten into a lot of legal hot water.
I don't
just
think
to make
it's
sure we all
secure
know.
at all.
Yeah, I'm putting a secure in scare quotes because it says it is, but let's not. We don't believe it.
Right.
So Telekopye is a brain dead easy scamming bot. Basically, back when online scamming used to take some kind of skill, you had to know how to make a convincing looking website. You don't even need to know how to do that now because this toolkit runs completely within Telegraph. And basically, as long as you're a crook who can press some buttons on a screen, you can run a scam. And now, because of LLMs, hooray, you can do it at scale. So a lot of these criminals that ESET has been monitoring for the past couple of months that have been using this bot toolkit, Telekopye, have been based in Russia, and they've been scamming e-commerce users in Russia. But they've started to branch out now. And they're starting to target users across the world using websites like Booking.com and even Airbnb. And this toolkit, Telekopye, pre-populates phishing website templates as well as SMS messages. And these templates are extremely convincing. They look exactly like the website that they're trying to clone. So there aren't the usual tells of wonky grammar or weird spelling, because again, they're using LLMs to do a lot of that work for them. So specifically, the new flavor of what ESET researchers have been seeing with Telekopye is that the Airbnb and Booking.com users who have legitimate bookings through these websites are getting targeted by the scammers who are saying, hey, your booking is at risk. If you need to pay right now, otherwise your summer vacation plans are going to fall through. And what adds to the scam is that the scammers using, again, this toolkit also have the compromised credentials of the hotels or hostels or B&Bs that people are booking to. So they actually have the accurate check-in and check-out dates. They have the price that the person is supposed to pay, as well as the location. So all that information is correct. The only thing, the little wrinkle is that the scammy, the potential victim, has not actually paid for their vacation yet or their booking yet. So that's what the scammers are trying to do, is say, hey, you haven't paid, so I need you to pay now. So giving them that urgency, otherwise your booking will fall through. And again, all that information that they've pulled from the compromised booking is correct. So then they just use that brain dead easy Telekopye bot, and then they can pull up a very, very convincing looking version of Airbnb or Booking.com. Again, looks exactly like the real deal. And then the potential victim puts in all their information, financial information, and there you go. That's how the fish works. But yeah,
if they're logged in to the Airbnb owners, the homeowners Airbnb account, why are they sending to a fake page? Why don't they just redirect the funds? Maybe they can't do that.
I don't. That's a great question. Maybe they can't. Maybe this is just the easiest way to do it. I mean, there is no technical ability needed for this. That's the thing that's just amazing to me. Because even what I thought was interesting is this scam is a little more high effort than I would think they'd. They're not casting a wide net. They're really micro targeting people. So they have the compromised credentials of a hotel, but they're not going after everybody. They're just the folks who haven't booked or paid for their booking yet, which is going to be a small subset of people, I would presume. But because there's just zero technical ability needed to deploy this scam, I guess the scammers have time to go after just a few bunch of people, and they can get, a vacation rental can be a lot of money.
I imagine this is remarkably effective as well.
Do you have any idea of how they're getting people to pay for this? Because a legitimate credit card payment is a lot harder to cook up than a Bitcoin payment.
That is a
anything
good
about
question.
that?
I do not know about that. I could guess, but I genuinely don't know. What they are targeting people who are going to pricier locales. So really prime summer vacation spots. So, you've booked 2 weeks in Santorini. That is going to be extremely expensive.
Right.
So those are the kinds of folks they're targeting, is like the really primetime summer vacationers. But that is a really good question about the actual payment methods. Let me see if I can see anything here. I didn't see anything. I know in previous scams they are using cryptocurrency, but I don't know about this one specifically. It's possible that it could be through legitimate means as well. It might be that they show up to their booking that they presume they've paid for and they found out that they haven't. That is a great way to ruin your summer vacation.
That would be awful.
Yeah.
I cannot even begin to imagine.
I wonder if there's a way to prevent this by requiring multi-factor authentication for anybody that's renting properties out. The people that make money on this, Airbnb says, if you're gonna own a property and rent it out, you're going to use multi-factor authentication. Because we can't have people compromising your account and then victimizing our customers. So you're one of our business partners. Here's your requirement: multi-factor authentication on your account. Period.
That would be nice for Airbnb. I've used Booking.com a lot for when I was in Greece 2 summers ago, and a lot of the places using it are folks that don't speak English, are very mom and pop. They just don't. They use Booking.com because they cannot do any kind of self-owned online presence. It's really just the only way they can expose themselves to a global market. So unless you can speak the language and can make a phone call to the old lady who runs the front desk, that's your other option. So it's a great question. I think it would help a lot because, again, these are people being taken to a convincing looking but fake clone of the real deal. MFA would presumably stop things in their tracks, or at least, I mean, you don't want to get taken to that second location, right? But, if you didn't notice that that's happening, this would help. But I think if they did enable an MFA, then that would exclude a lot of people who maybe wouldn't be able to book normally. So I don't know. That's a great point, Joe, though.
Yeah, I wonder, are there any tells here? Because I imagine even the URLs are probably lookalikes to wherever they send you to the lookalike website to log in. It's hard to imagine how you prevent this. Like what from the user side, the person who's looking to book the vacation, what can you do to protect yourself if you're that person? And what extra steps can you take? I suppose you could. Well, I suppose
the
you
URL,
could. You could, but I suppose you could email the owner directly. In other words, I imagine the scammers are going to send you a fake email address.
Yes,
but
I would
if you
imagine.
went to the original place where you booked the location, there's usually an email address of the actual owner, so maybe you could email them directly. It's just a tough one.
Yeah, you can verify it. But
Yeah, it's because if you go directly through Booking.com instead of clicking on a link in an email, that would obviously be a big help. But again, if you miss the fact that the URL is not correct, then there isn't an easy tell anymore. Again, especially with the LLMs generating the English for people, it's not like that obvious wonky English thing that used to be the easy tell. That's pretty much gone.
Yeah.
So be very careful what you're clicking and definitely mind those URLs and make sure you're on the legit deal. Otherwise, it could be very easy to fall for this.
Sure. All right. Well, we will have a link to the story in the show notes. And of course, we would love to hear from you. If there's something you'd like us to consider for the show, you can email us. It's hackinghumans@n2k.com. All right, Joe, Maria, it is time to move on to our catch of the day.
Dave, our catch of the day comes from the scams community on Reddit, and it looks like it's a text message exchange.
All right. It goes like this. Let's see. Who should I do? Good day. We got a report from our client who made a report and explained how you two were in an online romance which led to some financial activities.
He reported a monetary transaction in which he sent you $2,100. You claimed you'd received the money the same day. All receipts of the transaction have been filed in our suit against you. By the virtue of the power invested upon us as the special department in charge of crimes and criminal-related offenses, monitor, arrest, and prosecute criminals and criminal suspects, we hereby instruct you to do the needful by complying with his terms and do whatever he mandates you to do.
Yeah, I heard it too, Maria.
Do the needful.
There's your tell.
Yeah.
Moreover, if the complaint persists and we see no change in your attitude toward him, we'll track you down with your home address and every other information we get via your profile as an American citizen / Canada and arrest you together with your family because they were accomplices to the crime and theft you committed. Then we arraign you together with your accomplices for prosecution. We also wish to inform you that we're coming down to your house to arrest you and send you to jail for theft, robbery, and online fraud. We've notified the local police authorities, U.S. Army, and other security operatives. They all have your file with them. Here are some of the information we have about you that would make it easier to track you down as soon as possible. We send you a broadcast on all TV stations and on net with your picture and information tagged below with wanted and in all ports in the entire United States, airport and the seaports. We'd notify the immigration about you being notorious, that they've been offensive to you at your site. We'd use you as a scapegoat to all other criminals harboring such bad and inhuman intention. And we prove to the world that the United States FBI would never tolerate thieves or harbor criminals. A copy of this report would be sent to U.S. Eagle and other financial institutions you were traced to permanently deactivate your accounts with them prior to our investigation and your sentence in a competent court of law. Sincerely, Federal Bureau of Investigation.
I'm amazed you kept that voice up for the whole thing, Dave.
That's great. You'll never take me alive, coppers. That would be my response.
Yeah. So Maria, you caught the big tell in this one.
Do the needful.
Yes. Do the needful.
Oh my goodness. I
I'm
also
trying to
like
remember
American
the-
Citizen / Canada. That's great. I'm sure
Yeah.
Canadians love that one.
What's the origin of do the needful? Is that an Indian turn of phrase, I believe?
It is.
that-
It is
Yeah,
stereotypically, yes. Yep.
Indian English. Do the needful.
Got it. All right. Well, I don't think we have to spend too much time explaining why that one is a scam. It's kind of self-evident. But, if you run into that one, you'll know not to
The
follow
army
it.
comes marching.
Yeah.
That's right. The army shows up.
Right.
Just a tank comes through your front door.
Well, there have been tanks coming through the front door. They've just never been driven by the army.
Get to the chopper.
Right.
There you go.
All right. Well, again, we would love to hear from you. If there's something you'd like us to consider for our catch of the day, do email us. It's hackinghumans@n2k.com. And of course, we want to thank this week's sponsor, KnowBefore. Go to knowbefore.com to learn all about their new school approach to security awareness training. That's KNOWBE, the numeral 4.com, where you can request a demo to see their comprehensive training platform in action. And that is Hacking Humans, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to hackinghumans@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K Cyberwire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K makes it easy for companies to optimize your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your teams while making your team smarter. Learn how at n2k.com. This episode is produced by Liz Stokes. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester. Our executive editor is Brandon Karpf. Peter Kilpie is our publisher. I'm Dave Bittner.
I'm Joe Kerrigan.
And I'm Maria Varmazis.
Thanks for listening.